Hello, this is another Tell a Friend video, and it is about the pain body, which we know from Eckard Tolle and his books, and how this pain body meets the three brain model. As you all know, I always use the intellect, the limbic system, and the reptile brain in order to describe how we think. And in most cases this works, but sometimes you need like filters and sensors, and sometimes you might need a speech center and a hearing center and so on, but in the vision and so on. But in general, these three brain models work. Slow thinking, fast thinking, maybe associated a little bit in between here. But for most cases, this three brain model between intellect, limbic system, and reptile brain works well. Now, if that system, now how does that translate? And this is one of the things I always try to do into Eckhard Tolle's pain body. Yeah. And now the thing is, pain body, pain. So I feel pain. Now, how do I feel pain? And now the thing is, that's the very, very interesting part. And now what we know is that if the reptile brain goes into fear, what it does, it blocks entering into the limbic system or intellect, but only for the thing it fears. So if there's, for example, a tiger and I don't go outside, I still can sit in my cave and be perfectly reasonable and talk to guys, talk to everybody and prepare the weapons and so on. There's no problem at all. So that means the reptile brain only says for a limited part of goals, and the intellect for a limited part of thoughts that are associated to these goals, that these ones are now off limits because it hurts. And this is like the pain. It hurts, so pain. So you feel pain when you touch this. And a lot of people have a big pain body. So a lot of things you are not allowed to touch. You must not talk about this and this subject, and politics you may not, and the ex-spouse you are not, and so on. So, and that is why the pain body is that the reptile brain triggers fear of, and sometimes that is, Jordan Peterson, I heard that a lot, it's unknown territory. Yeah, so unknown territory means I fear. And so that complexity, for example, creates often fear, because if I don't understand this thing, it creates fear. And so there's specific mechanisms. But the thing I want to say here is, now that we know that a fear of a specific thought, a fear of a specific thing, a specific activity, activity is wrong. Activity is then what you do, and we all kind of normal is the reaction is an activity. But now here it's the touching a specific topic. Maybe it's topic. So we are not allowed to touch that, but because that triggers, please don't move. It triggers here a freeze. And how can you freeze? And how can you freeze something? It means to the limbic system, no goal. So no goal. So we don't want to go somewhere, no vision. No, in that area we don't want to go, because then if it has to go, it would ask the intellect, bring me there, but that is forbidden. So the reptile brain says here in this topic, no way. So don't, that hurts. So the limbic system doesn't develop a goal that is around this area. And that means the intellect does not think into this. And here we go. Here is the catch. Now, what does it mean to alter your thinking? We do reinforcement thinking. So thinking, let's say this is a part of the brain. And here are thoughts, and thoughts are just associations. It's just when you get triggered this one triggers this, and then this one triggers this, and then something comes out and something goes back in here. You might have a a thought popping up into a kind of a visual idea, and in the end it results in an action, it results in maybe speech, movement, and so on. And movement then obviously goes back in again and comes in here. So this is all billions of activities every second. It all a complete flow. And now the thing is, while you do this, you get input like from maybe smiling at you, then dopamine or serotonin or whatever, that then influence whether, and now this is important, whether this may be a little bit bigger and this a little bit thinner, this a little bit thicker. And so while you think through this area, here we remember these areas, while you think through these areas, the areas alter, they change, they alter. And that means we learn. Yeah, so this is learning, because we traverse many times these areas in our brain. Now the thing is, if you have a big pain body, you will have lots of spots in your brain that are off limits. So the pain body actually makes sure with the pain, because it hurts entering that realm, that part, that topic in your brain, that you actually alter it. So you cannot think through that, and that is one of the expressions I'm using. You cannot think through that part of your brain, because there is this pain guard that says, no, boom, you are not allowed to think into this part of the brain. And that is then often called a trauma. Yeah, it is often called a dangerous spot in my brain. I'm not able to unconsciously, something sits there, because it's a part of my brain that is excluded by pain, because the traversal of thoughts through this thing creates pain. And that means it's off limit and it will not alter itself. It is a brick wall, a brick house, not obviously this would be a brick wall, it would be a concrete wall. I cannot get in because it hurts. It hurts. And sometimes I've heard this thing, oh, does this hurt? Does thinking, does learning hurt? And it depends, it depends. It can hurt. And then this is kind of, so, it's cemented thoughts. And the reason for cemented thoughts, taboos, for example, a taboo could also be a cultural taboo. I'm not allowed to traverse in a thinking way this thing, in an open thinking way, like considering everything. So often this is then blocked, and the thought that traverses it is attached to the same thoughts, and then you have reinforcement learning, and you actually make this even harder, even more concrete, more solid. So if you don't allow anything to bring new ideas in it, for example, with this you might bring the thought of somewhere else, of a smiling face, maybe of a laughing child, you bring that in, of a sunny, sunny evening, and so on. You bring that in here, and then it would kind of delete the dangerous, rest in peace, dead, and so horrors of this area. It would actually soften. And if you do that very, very often, then actually you will soften this whole thing. Or the other way around, let's say this is all, oh yeah, I love it, I love it, I love it. But it's a wrong piece of thinking, and via cultural or traumatic things and pain associated with entering this area, it will not be altered. And I think the most important thing, and that is what I learned from Tolle, is have the smallest possible pain body. So a small pain body and body. That is the goal, a small pain body, because a small pain body means that in your brain, let's say greater than 99% of the areas, you can actually traverse thinking. and that is fantastic. You can allow sensors from the outside, everything. They are not filtered, everything that comes in, because you don't have a pain body, or you have a very, very small pain body. So I hope to receive some feedback on this. This is, for me, this was kind of probably developed like several weeks ago, and then crystallized itself within the past days. And I really think this is one of the key messages to an open thinking, and it, to me, it did a connection between this pain body as expressed by Eckhard Tolle, and actually a reptile, a brain model that a brain expert would actually use, like Professor Peters, names, which are the different parts of your brain. How do you think? How do the associations work? What is a neural network, and so on? And that kind of ties the tools together in a perfect way. So I love it, and I would love to receive feedback on that. Thank you very much.